sign CJ Spiller for something other than sitting on the fucking bench.
31 other passes that should have been intercepted.
So that's why I have David Johnson on my board higher.
If you're doing a live draft, wait till you're drunk to draft this guy. We welcome you to the Fifth Down!
What up, Fifth Downers? This is Johnny Slokes, and you're listening to the Fifth Down Fantasy Football Podcast. I have my partner in crime, K-Mill.
Let's fucking go, baby. How y'all doing? Hopefully you made it through your matchups this week, and we're going to go into what ads you do and don't want to make to ensure that you get to the championship round next week.
Yeah, Week 15 Waiver Wire show. I felt like it was appropriate to name this episode Saved by the Bell. Obviously,
because Saved by the Le'Veon just doesn't sound, as catchy.
I mean, I want to know a question. How many people that had Le'Veon Bell that didn't make the playoffs? I've been hearing all these people saying, "Oh my God, I lost the playoffs because of Le'Veon Bell." It's like, yeah, well, you should have drafted him.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to know if there's anybody out there that had Le'Veon Bell and still lost.
That would have been very very weird because in most standard leagues he was putting up 40 to 50 points this week. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he was an absolute that. He was the guy you could have a complete shit team around him, and he was the guy that could completely be a week killer for you.
Yeah, so I want to know. I just want to know, if you didn't win with Le'Veon Bell, that'd be pretty amazing. But the good news is, if you are listening to this show right now, you either a great supporter of us or you won your first week in your fantasy football playoffs. Congratulations.
Let's get to work.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into some news and notes. Before we do that, though, did you hear about Talib in his message to Harry Douglas?
Yeah, he said he's going to beat his ass next time he's in Atlanta. I love it.
I want the listeners to hear it directly from the source.
Okay.
Hopefully it sounds all right.
It was a dirty play by a sorry player. He don't do nothing. He come to the game, don't catch no passes. He come to the game to chop guys from the back, and he got the same agent as me. So when I see his ass in Atlanta, I'm gonna beat his ass.
I saw Chris go down, and it turned out bad, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
I'm sure that really irritated.
Yeah, it don't matter how.
It cut out. He's like, it don't matter how it happened. It's the fact that he made it dirty. That's why I'm gonna beat his ass. You worried about the fines? Nah.
I love that. Yeah, just simple. Leave it very simple. Nah.
I would honestly, I'd pay money to watch that fight. I would pay money to watch Talib beat that ass. Like, it could be pay-per-view. You could have a name for it and everything. It could be like the Gridiron Brawls.
Yeah. No, I love it, too, because, I think Talib was absolutely right. I think I totally agree. It was a dirty-ass hit. Pisses me off as a Broncos fan watching that. And not to mention, too, it was like miles away from where the action was happening during the play. It was a run play. And then the other thing is... Harry Douglas, who the fuck is this guy? He hasn't been relevant in years. Ever since he left Atlanta. I mean, even when he was in Atlanta, he wasn't relevant. I mean, he's a sorry-ass player.
He's a hairy douchebag, like a little hairy butthole.
I think I'm butchering this quote, but I know Chris Harris Jr. said something. He's like, he tweeted, he said, can't get open? Yeah, let's take out 25, meaning, the Broncos no-fly zone. You got to take out number 25. Probably their best corner.
Yeah, what bugs me the most is Coach Malarkey. He had no issue with it. He's like, it was a legal hit. That's why there was no flag.
Yeah, no, that was bullshit. I think that was so classless to not call a spade a spade.
I mean, good news is Chris Harris looks like he's going to be okay, so that's good.
Yeah, I think there would be a lot more outrage if Chris Harris did have his season, or potentially what could have happened at worst could have been a career-ending injury, which is just completely fucked up for a sorry player like Harry Douglas to take out one of the best corners in the league.
All right, so now that we get that out of the way, we can jump into just a little bit of injury updates. Wendell Smallwood, he was placed on IR with a knee injury. Darren Sproles has concussion, so he's in the protocol right now. So it looks like Ryan Matthews has that backfield up to himself right now.
Yeah, it's finally nice. All those guys that end up holding on to him are paying dividends right now because he's going to have the lion's share of the work. I wouldn't trust it too much. He's got a tough matchup this week, but at the same time, it's nice to have an extra running back on your bench to play.
It's confirmed that Melvin Gordon has not only a hip strain but also a knee strain. He is at first it was considered week to week. He might be day to day. Still about 50-50 whether he's going to play this week.
Yeah, tough news because in most leagues, if you had Melvin Gordon, you made it to the playoffs. So tough news, but hopefully you can pick up Kenneth Farrow, which we'll get into in a minute.
Yeah, Coach Pagano said that Moncrief is day to day with a hamstring injury. So
yeah, it was tough, man. If you started him this week, he after getting a touchdown for the last 6 weeks that he's played healthy. He finally gave you a goose egg, so I'll teach you.
Vance McDonald placed on IR with a shoulder injury, so his season is done. He is more of a streaming option anyways, but I just felt like it was newsworthy. We were talking about how Jeff Fisher gets this extension. Well, he's fired.
I love it. I love that. But you know what? Honestly, you got to call a spade here. The Rams organization was going to be perfectly fine with paying Fisher for the next 2 years while they build this new stadium and then firing him in 2 years anyways. So they pretty much just got one out of the way because the fans were pissed. And now what we have left is a team that spent three. I think the most alarming part is they spent 3 primo picks and all those fucking picks, and it went to fucking Jared Goff, who was just I don't know what that was. I can't even explain it. How horrible that the play from him was. He had no awareness. He was horrible.
They're saying the organization was saying it had nothing to do with Jeff Fisher. That's a lie. But that organization needs to improve from top to bottom. And I also heard a rumor that Jim Harbaugh could be a candidate if they were to pay him enough money, like somewhere within the $10 to $15 million range. I mean, that'd take a lot of money to lure him away from Michigan.
There's no way. He's got his dream job at Michigan. I would say that's slim to none. And why would he want to inherit that dumpster fire that is the Rams? Because
the owner is very rich.
That is true. He's very rich. He owns my favorite hockey team, so... yeah.
AJ Green expected to practice Wednesday, so we'll see how that goes for him. No need to get too much into that. My favorite piece of news. This is pretty funny. Well, I guess it's really not that funny, but Michael Floyd arrested on a DUI charge at around 3:00 this morning. He was found asleep in the middle of his car, he was found asleep in his car in the middle of an intersection. He's getting 2 counts of DUI, 1 count of destructing a roadway, and a failure to obey a police officer. Right there is exactly how you get your big monies into free agency.
You know what? I wish I had a toilet flush sound because that's his career going down the drain in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine him playing any more football this year.
I doubt it. And then even if I think that even free agency, he hasn't really helped his stock much. I think Arizona's going to have
$1
They're going to have no problem getting rid of him this year in free agency, and then one stupid team might give him a ridiculous contract for what he's actually worth. And I'm calling it now. He's not going to be really relevant next year. He's not going to be relevant ever again, probably, I don't think.
One good piece of news, though, Ryan Tannehill, he did not tear his ACL. He actually just sprained it, so that's some good news. He's probably still not going to return this year, but he's not going to need surgery, so that's pretty good. That's why you get MRIs.
Yeah. They need some ice.
Obviously, I'm sure you guys noticed during the Detroit-Chicago game that Matthew Stafford injured a finger. It looked like it was, his middle finger?
Yeah, it was his middle finger. He tore some ligaments, and I think there was some sprains going on too.
Yeah, the media was apparently bugging Caldwell about it, and he was kind of a dick to him, man. I'm going to quote him right now. He's like, "I'm not going to talk about the nature of it, what happened, all the rumors and false reports. That's all I'm going to say about it. If you ask me again about it, I'm either going to ignore you or I'm going to ask you another question." So he was pretty dickish about it, but that's just the Lions for you. You know, they're real secretive about their injuries.
Yeah, they are. I think it's an NFC North thing that they do. It's them, the Bears, the Packers. They're all secretive about their injuries. But yeah, this is tough. It's going to be kind of like what Derek Carr was going through a week ago against Kansas City. The accuracy just wasn't there. He was didn't have full control. He was throwing with the glove. I mean, I know that wasn't necessarily what Derek Carr was doing, but yeah, I could see this being a real risky quarterback to play going forward. With the nature of the injury.
Yeah, for you people that held on to Alshon, I think you'll be back this week.
Who cares?
Aaron Rodgers, his calf is said to not be as bad as what it was a couple of years ago, so that's some good news. But I noticed he was a little bit gimpy on it this past weekend.
Hobbled Aaron.
All right, you want to jump into some of our heroes and zeros for quarterbacks for week 14?
We did forget about one piece of news, and that's about Matt Forte. His knee, it is said, was clicking and popping, and it looks like he's a little less than 50-50 to go this week. So it looks like Bilal Powell is going to be a popular waiver ad, which we'll get into in a second. But
Yeah, I mean,
it definitely looks like Matt Forte is not a lock.
We're kind of foreshadowing a little bit, so we'll definitely get into that a little bit in the waiver wires.
Alrighty.
What a bad week for fantasy football. There was not a very good stat line. There's only 3 teams that scored over 30 points this week. It was one of the lowest scoring weeks I can remember. There was not a lot of good performances.
Yeah.
That being said, is there a quarterback performance that stuck out to you?
Yeah, he actually just got done playing, so if you watched the game tonight, you probably just watched Tom Brady throw for 3 touchdowns and 406 yards. I mean, didn't really get much better than that. He started out slow. It was kind of frustrating. Some receivers were running the wrong routes, and you could see Tom Brady jawing at him, but he ended up
Edelman dropping the ball left and right.
Yeah, there was drops everywhere, but yeah, Tom Brady did his usual Tom Brady thing.
One guy that really stuck out to me, he was up against a pretty tough defense in Seattle. I know they were without Earl Thomas, but Aaron Rodgers, he threw for 246 yards and 3 touchdowns against Seattle. So, I mean, if you can get that against Seattle, that's always good. That's why I said sometimes I do like playing quarterbacks in tough matchups because they can put up numbers like that, and it's not going to hurt you. And I think he was the number 2 quarterback behind Tom Brady this week.
Yeah, I believe you are correct. I mean, I know Seattle was missing Earl Thomas, but what Aaron Rodgers did, with the injury and everything withstanding, it was very impressive. So definitely, I really hope that injury is not serious for all your Aaron Rodgers owners because he was fantastic.
All right, for quarterback zeros, I mean, take your pick. There's a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to go with probably what I thought was the single worst, and I just love pissing off Seattle fans. So I'm going to go right into it. Russell Wilson, he was not sharp. He threw 5 INTs, which you probably all know, and he only threw for 240 yards, which isn't a bad number, but with those 5 picks, it was just horrible. And you know what? I blame Darrell Bevell because you know what? The first drive Seattle had, they were running the ball, they were having success, and they were playing Seattle football. And then all of a sudden, they kept making Russell Wilson throw the ball, and he was just not sharp. And so I do put a little bit of on his offensive coordinator.
It looked eerily similar to that NFC Championship game when Seattle went to the Super Bowl when they played Green Bay, and he threw for like 4 interceptions, but they actually had a comeback in that game.
Yeah, he broke his career high, which was set in that game. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. That's a pretty good pick. I don't want to feel like I'm picking on Drew Brees right now, but he is my quarterback Blue Falcon.
What's your pick?
Like I said, Blue Falcon is buddy fucker. He fucked your team. If you had Drew Brees, he's do another 3 interceptions this week. Has 6 interceptions in 2 weeks, and that's not what you're looking for at this time of the year. So I mean, that's like buddy fucker all over it. You know what I mean?
I pray that if you had Drew Brees on your team, you had Le'Veon Bell, because that means you probably still won. But that's not good. On most teams where Drew Brees played this week, he probably didn't make it past this week, so that really sucks.
I mean, some other notable names that had pretty bad games: Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota, and Big Ben. They all played pretty poorly. Obviously, Mariota had a pretty tough matchup. Derek Carr had to play in the frigid cold. Big Ben played in the snow. That had a lot to do with their bad performances. I think Mariota had to play in the rain as well. So weather really had to do with a lot of these poor performances.
Yeah, make sure you check the forecast, because I set my lineups accordingly, and it doesn't always work in your favor, but you definitely the elements will play a factor.
I mean, would we have like 4 or 5 snow games? There's a couple of games where the turf was wet from rain. Like some real bad weather. Lousy weather leads to lousy performances.
Yeah, speaking of that, just a real quick thing. I did not expect Sammy Watkins coming off of a 50% snap week, playing injured, so to speak, and to do what he did in the weather that he did it in was pretty impressive.
I mean, his stat line wasn't really amazing. I think it was he had like 40 yards and a touchdown, but if you had the balls to start him in the flex, I mean, you'll take that from a flex position.
Oh yeah. I almost did, and I wish I would have, but it really didn't matter. I mean, but honestly though, it's nice to see signs of life from him. So it definitely makes him a wide receiver 2 play going forward. But we'll get back into it.
Running back hero. There's one real obvious one. We named our episode after him.
Yeah. I think you got to go with Le'Veon Bell, man. It doesn't get much better than this. 296 all-purpose yards.
298.
Oh, 298. I'm sorry. I shortchanged you, Le'Veon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, how dare you?
I know. And three touchdowns. Really, I don't know who to credit more, Le'Veon Bell or that horrible Buffalo defense that will probably get Rex Ryan fired at the end of the season. No, but hats off to Le'Veon, man. If you drafted him, your team is sitting pretty right now. I mean, this guy is he's on another level, man. Not even David Johnson could touch him. I mean, Le'Veon is Le'Veon.
I mean, he had 2 games worth of touches in this one. He had 42 touches. I mean, he lives for these kind of snow games. I mean, obviously it doesn't hurt that he finally started getting in the end zone. He's been on a tear lately. I mean, he's hot. Keep giving him the ball.
It's hot, baby.
My running back hero is a guy that probably nobody played. Bilal Powell.
Yeah.
He had 29 carries for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns, 5 receptions. I believe he was our RB number 2 this week, right behind Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, I hope to God he ends up starting this next week, because I have.
You know what's funny is I actually dropped him like the day before. On a Saturday, I ended up dropping him.
Oh man, yeah. I hope to God he starts next week, because I am my mouth is watering over next week and his ability to do what he did again.
Carlos Hyde had another noticeable performance, 193 scoreless yards, but that was pretty good. He was tearing through that defense. Jeremy Hill had 25 carries, 111 yards. Lamar Miller, nice bounce back week against Indianapolis, 107 yards and a touchdown. Tavius Murray, the only bright spot in Oakland, 103 yards and a touchdown. Who is your RB0, your buddy fucker of the week for running back?
Well, he's a guy that killed one of my fantasy teams this week, Devontae Freeman. I was excited to start him. I thought I was going to see great things against the Rams defense. I thought he was going to be kind of the centerpiece, and then Tevin Coleman would work more as a change of pace, and I was completely wrong. 6 carries for 6 yards. Really doesn't get much worse than that. So if you started Le'Veon, he definitely blue falconed your team this week. I mean, I'm sorry, not Le'Veon. I'm sorry, Devontae. So yeah.
That's a pretty good pick. That's one performance that really stuck out to me was Devontae Freeman. Looked like he lost a lot of work to Coleman. I mean, sometimes I guess that'll happen when you have two backs that are capable. One that really stuck out to me back-to-back weeks. I'm not trying to pick on the Saints, but Mark Ingram had 7 carries for 14 yards, 1 catch for 9 yards. I mean, hopefully you didn't start him, but it's just that's not the performance you're looking for in the playoffs. Like that's how you lose in the playoffs.
That is how you lose in the playoffs.
Many people probably lost because they started Melvin Gordon. You can't expect injuries like that. Same thing with Matt Forte. Hopefully you didn't start Booker either. That was another bad one.
Oh yeah, that nearly sunk another one of my teams.
All right, let's go over to wide receiver. Who is your hero at wide receiver this week? This seems like a smorgasbord for wide receivers.
Yeah, I'm going to be a bit of a homer this week and go with my hometown boy, Emmanuel Sanders. He had 11 catches for 100 yards and a TD. That was like the lone bright spot was, Trevor Siemian was really good this weekend, and so were the receivers in Denver. But the running game just didn't get going, so unfortunately they wasted a really good performance by the receivers and the quarterback this week. Sanders, he had one hell of a game.
Yeah, unfortunately, K-Mill was out of town. I was on duty, so we were not able to do our matchup show last week. But that's one thing that I did kind of notice was that, these receivers had a good chance to have some success against that Tennessee defense, and they did. They both went over 100 yards. Trevor Siemian threw for over 300 yards. They were both pretty good. They both kind of stuck out. But, in a week where like a lot of your big name receivers didn't really perform well, if you were one of those guys that played a high upside guy in your flex position, like guys like Tyreek Hill, Deshaun Jackson, or Taylor Gabriel, those are the guys that are heroes to me because they all came up with some big plays this weekend, and that's how you propel yourself to the next round. Or even a guy like J.J. Nelson. I mean, he had 14 snaps. And he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was impressive.
I mean, who could see that coming? He did that on the waiver wire, most likely.
Most likely, I don't know who. You would have to be in a really deep league to start J.J. Nelson.
Who are some wide receivers that you have as your buddy fucker, your Blue Falcon, your wide receiver 0 of the week?
Well, in the 2 leagues that I started this guy, I had Le'Veon Bell, so it kind of masked this poor performance with this single player that I'm about to single out. Larry Fitzgerald, he could have nearly torpedoed 2 of my teams this week, but I was saved by Le'Veon. I was saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell. But yeah, he only had 3 catches for 12 yards, and it wasn't all Fitz's fault. I mean, Carson Palmer had another really erratic and just horrible performance, and man, just looks like a shell of what he was last year. I can't really say it. This is against the Dolphins too. It was just a terror, or not so much. Well, I will actually say it's not so much Fitz's fault, but you still can't have that in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, if you had Fitzgerald, you probably started him, and I mean, it's not good.
How could you not?
Especially if it's a pure 1-point PPR league, he only got you 4.2 points. That's not good.
Not at all.
One of my zeros, I'm going to just base it off one of my teams. I was a big dumb idiot, and I started, not only did I start Derek Carr, but I also started Amari Cooper. And that combo was really bad. Amari Cooper had 5 catches, 29 yards, but I was saved by the Bell, so that cancels that out. But Amari Cooper, five catches for 29 yards. He's becoming a real scary play.
He is, yeah. He's almost becoming, I wouldn't say he's at the same level, but yeah, Jarvis Landry, man, it's like the same kind of unpredictable level.
Some other noteworthy performances that were pretty bad. Crabtree, along with that whole Oakland offense, 4 catches, 21 yards. Brandon Marshall, 3 for 33. Hopkins had a good matchup. He continued to not put out 2 for 33. So those are some other zeros we have. Let's go over to the tight end position. Who is your tight end hero of the week? There were some good ones, actually.
Yeah, there were a lot of good tight end performances this week. I'm going to go with Tyler Eifert, though. He had 2 TDs off of 5 catches and 48 yards. So obviously the TDs stick out to you, but it's also the fact that he's Andy Dalton's premier red zone threat, and it was nice. He looks back to his old ways, and we always said he was a touchdown-dependent play. Well, if he's getting you 2 touchdowns a game, he's doing you some good.
You go ahead and take the number 1 tight end, why don't you? My hero for tight end this is a guy I actually dropped Bilal Powell for. Zachary Ertz had 10 catches for 112 yards against Washington, so that was really good. I don't want to call out Kelsey for the 3rd straight week, because he also had over 100 yards. But Zachary Ertz, man, he was getting it done, and he's been really, really good since like week 8 or 9. So
yeah, no, he definitely has.
Also, I mean, Kyle Rudolph had a pretty good game in a tough spot. He had 4 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown against Jacksonville, who's actually been pretty tough against tight ends. So if you had the balls to start him, bravo to you.
Yeah, take some serious balls.
Who's a tight end that probably fucked you over this week?
Well, I think that consensus, top 5 tight end this week was Jimmy Graham, and he did fuck your team. If you started him, he fucked your team. 1 catch for 16 yards. That is just not getting it done. The receivers have to step up. That was part of the reason why Russell Wilson had such a poor performance, is none of his receivers really got any separation or stepped up, and it was also Russell Wilson's fault. But yeah, Jimmy Graham's got to do better than that.
Part of me really, really wants to say Jordan Reed, because he had 1 catch for 10 yards, only because everyone was saying he's a must start. And I was begging and pleading people, please don't start this guy. He's not healthy. It's in the playoffs, but a lot of people insisted, the upside is there. The upside, well, he had 1 target. So I'm not gonna say he was my buddy fucker, because it's really not his fault. He's hurt. But another one that stuck out to me was Delaney Walker. He had 2 catches for 30 yards, and this is a guy I was mentioning on our strategy show. I was like, it's a guy you might want to consider sitting for the playoffs. So, I mean, you see why right there. 2 catches, 30 yards.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump into some of the waivers. I want to do it a little bit different for quarterback, because there's not a whole lot of good options. So what I propose to you is maybe we'll talk about some quarterbacks that have bad matchups this week that you might want to consider sitting for someone else.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Marcus Mariota, he's coming off a game where he was 6 of 20 for 88 yards. He has to go on the road to play Kansas City. There's no way you're playing him, are you?
I wouldn't say absolutely not on this one, actually. Kansas City, before last week's matchup with Oakland, they had been one of the worst teams at defending the deep ball, and a lot of teams have had a lot of passing success against this team. So I wouldn't necessarily say that Mariota's a do not start. I would say that I would definitely consider it.
I mean, there's just no way I could trust that on the road the way the Kansas City's playing right now. I would definitely look into other options. Big Ben, he was just he struggled last week on the road. He has to go on the road again against Cincinnati, who's been pretty tough against the pass lately. And it's in that northern part of the country. Maybe this is some inclement weather again. It's definitely something to monitor. I mean, I would consider playing someone else other than Big Ben this week.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I don't like.
It's a lot for me to say this, because last year I started him against Denver. So.
Yeah. No, I know that. Yeah, and I agree. Big Ben, he hasn't looked right for the last couple of weeks, and it looks like if there's more inclement weather, it's going to be the Le'Veon Bell show again. So he has primo bust potential, so you got to start him at your own risk.
How about that New York Giants defense? They really took it to Dallas. This week they bring in Matthew Stafford and the Red Hot Lions. They are going on the road to play the Giants. I feel like this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think both teams are going to struggle to move this ball.
Yeah, I think so too. Matthew Stafford is one of the guys that I'm really cautioning people, including myself, on starting,
especially with the injury.
Because he's in a really rough spot, especially with the injury that he sustained and everything like that. Not only is he going to lose some accuracy, but he's also, he's playing hurt. People have to understand that. And it's against a surprisingly good New York Giants secondary. So you really need to watch out for that one.
The next guy that you might want to consider sitting down is Andrew Luck. He's going on the road against Minnesota. Minnesota's defense is starting to pick it up lately. We've seen how much he struggled against Houston, and Minnesota's been pretty tough against the pass as well. So that's not really a lot of these quarterbacks are playing on the road that I'm naming off. But yeah, that's just another one right there.
Yeah, no, definitely, I totally agree with that.
I swear, I'm not picking on the Saints. But, Drew Brees has to go on the road against Arizona. He's got 6 interceptions the past 2 games. Arizona's one of the tougher defenses against the pass. This doesn't look pretty.
Yeah, if you're in the next round and you had Drew Brees, you must have had a really good team around him. But yeah, if you have other options out there, if there's good streamer quarterbacks, I would definitely consider it, because Drew Brees hasn't played well the last 2 weeks, and he's got a tough matchup. That's just not a recipe for success when you have a must-win game on your hands.
This is probably the only quarterback on this list that I would still consider playing in a tough matchup. Tom Brady, he's going on the road against Denver. You're like, whoa, you'd play Tom Brady? Yeah, I'd play Tom Brady against Denver the way he's playing right now. I think that he won't give you a performance that's going to kill you. I'm not going to say he's going to put up like overly impressive numbers, but he won't put up numbers that's going to kill you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think that's going to be a horrible game for him. He's playing on another level right now. Denver will no doubt be a tough matchup for him, but I anticipate something like 200 yards, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. I think out of Tom Brady would be a fair stat line to say.
Yeah, I could see something like that. Let's jump into some of the quarterbacks that are available on the wire. Tyrod Taylor, he's available in 38% of leagues. The only reason why I bring him up is he does play the Cleveland Browns. But, he's been having some good matchups. They're still 31st in the league in passing the ball. But do you feel like you would be able to trust him against Cleveland? I think you'd have to think you would.
Yeah, I would say so. The only caveat is that there's been talk that he's going to get benched this week, so we'll see if he ends.
Rex Ryan says his job is safe.
Yeah, with the contract they gave him, his job has to be safe. You pay a guy that much money, he's got to perform. So I would say yes. If he ends up starting like Rex Ryan says he would, I would go ahead and start him this week.
Yeah, Rex Ryan went ahead and said that he gives us the best chance to win, which I think he does. Really, a lot of it can't be really blamed on him. The receivers haven't exactly been very healthy this year, so that has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah, well, aside from Sammy, they really don't have anybody. They have Marquise Goodwin, and then they have fucking Robert Woods, and he's been injured too. And then they have Percy Harvin, which I don't even want to talk about that.
He might be retiring again. He's still got the migraines.
I know, dude. I don't know what that dude's deal is. I would just write him off completely. But, another guy that I think is a really good streamer option this week is, Trevor Siemian. He's going against New England, and it seems like the last 2 weeks that really doesn't matter, who he's facing. He's getting it done. The running game isn't getting any better in Denver. It was pretty horrendous to watch, let me tell you. And, Trevor Siemian the last 2 weeks has thrown over 300 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns in each of those matchups. So I think that New England doesn't really scare me if you're looking to stream a quarterback.
I'm pulling it up right now because I have noticed that because of the run game, how it's struggling so much, he's pretty much had no choice but to pass the ball a lot, and. 5 straight games over 250 yards.
Yeah.
and it's all because it all springs from the run game. They can't run the ball, so they have to air it out.
Yeah, exactly. And I anticipate more of the same against New England. And I really think that the New England's kind of an overrated defense to begin with. Not to say that they're not a slouch by any means, but I'm saying they are a little bit overrated. I think that people overlook New England's defense because of how good the offense is. So it kind of masks it. So I think that this is definitely an exploitable matchup for Trevor Siemian. I don't know how successful the Broncos are going to be next week against the Patriots, but I do think that Trevor Siemian will have some success.
Well, keep in mind, New England going into this Baltimore game was only giving up 17 points a game, so that's another thing you have to keep in mind.
Well, just this week,
Denver passing yards.
Denver only put up 10 points this week, and he still put in a really nice line.
Yeah. Would you trust Colin Kaepernick? He's 36% owned. He's playing Atlanta. You gotta figure they'll be down in that game. How do you? I mean, Atlanta does give quite a bit of passing yards. Would you trust that as a streaming option? Say if you have a bad matchup for your quarterback.
You know what? I'm going to get chastised for this, and in the league where I'm actually facing you in this week, I might be forced to start Kaepernick. So I'm going to say yes. I could definitely see this being a Kaepernick a good game for him. I mean, the matchup gets great. Desmond Trufant is more than likely done for the season with the torn pec. So and this week was a mixed bag. He only had about 15 standard points in most leagues this week or less. So I think that he's a guy that I have to say yes. I'm probably gonna get chastised because the last 2 weeks he's burnt people, but the matchup doesn't get much better.
All right. You're not starting Carson Wentz. You're not starting Flacco against Philadelphia. A guy that's probably not gonna put up amazing numbers, but if you have a bad matchup, he could probably put up better numbers than say a guy like Marcus Mariota if that's your starter. Alex Smith plays Tennessee, and Trevor Siemian just threw for over 300 yards against him. I could definitely see Smith having a decent little stat line against him. Maybe something like 260 and 2.
Yeah, I could see that too. He was another guy that
he's been really able to use Tyreek Hill lately, stretch the field. That's something that's a new dynamic to that offense.
Yeah, he's a playmaker for sure. But yeah, Alex Smith, I really hope he starts getting something done with his legs, in weeks past. But with Tyreek Hill in the offense, he really doesn't have to. But he's a guy that he's a game manager in real life, and he'll do that in your fantasy league too. He's not going to win you the week. He's not going to lose you the week, but I think he's got a pretty.
He'll consistently get you between quarterback 15 to quarterback 20.
Well, I think that we can definitely say that he has a safe floor. So that's something. So if you're worried, if you got like a Matthew Stafford playing this week, I think Alex Smith, has a pretty safe floor for you.
Yeah, I just looked it up. He hasn't ran for more than 15 yards in a single game this year.
Yeah.
I think maybe that concussion he suffered has a lot to do with it, too.
I think I would have to say so.
The only other guy that you could really consider is maybe Sam Bradford. I think he has a pretty good matchup, but I mean, you ain't trusting that in your fantasy playoffs. Let's be real.
Yeah. You would have to be very bare on the waiver wire to trust Sam Bradford this week.
With that being said, I think we can go over to running back. I think we know what the top waiver pick is going to be in a lot of leagues this week. It's going to be Bilal Powell. He had himself a hell of a game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean. And the thing is, too, if Forte isn't able to go this week, which it sounds like it's going to be a very risky proposition to begin with, at least for this week. I'm not saying – it sounds like he avoided a major damage. He's going to have an MRI. I don't know the results yet. But it sounds like he's not going to start this week. He's a very rough play this week. So I think Bilal Powell, he immediately steps into that RB2, RB1 borderline category.
I mean – this is kind of like what we were trying to foreshadow a little bit in our playoff strategy is, sometimes all it takes is some kind of minor injury like this. Maybe they just significantly just cut his workload altogether from here on out. And it's just, Bilal Powell getting a lot more work.
I could see that too because the Jets obviously aren't playing for anything. I mean, they're starting Bryce Petty for Christ's sake. So yeah, if they do just end up
They're trying to see what they have.
yeah, exactly. They want to just start Bilal Powell the rest of the way. I mean, Matt Forte realistically only has maybe 3 years left in the league, if that. And then they want to see what they have. They want to see if Bilal Powell can be the future feature back. So and I think yes, this kid's awesome, man. He's got amazing speed. He's tough, and he's a great pass catcher. I mean, I can't say enough good things about him. I held on to him nearly all year for a reason.
Yeah, I held on to him all year except for this past week, and I let him go, and I'll probably never have him again.
Yep, and that's why you're going down. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, I think we're going to be playing each other this week.
I know.
I'm going to drop you, motherfucker. I'm going to sodomize you in your sleep, metaphorically, of course.
Hey, man, if Le'Veon Bell does what he did next week, I don't think I have Satan's chance in heaven.
Speaking of running backs that could be emerging, Kenneth Dixon. I mean, we just got done watching him play. He out-touched Terrence West 19-6. He had 11 carries for 39 yards. A lot of them were tough runs. Like, he was really pumping his legs for extra yardage. I really liked the way he was running tonight. He caught 8 passes for another 42 yards with a touchdown. I really like what I've seen out of the guy. I think that he's going to be getting some more work going forward.
Yeah, it's just it's sad that it's been so late in the year. When this finally does happen, like they keep putting the veteran Terrence West in, and they could have really seen what they had. Because Kenneth Dixon looks like he could be the man. I love the way that kid runs too. So it's disappointing that it's taken this long in the year. He can't really help your fantasy teams, but he's definitely an intriguing flex play the next 2 weeks.
I mean, he's only 44% owned in Yahoo leagues, so he's definitely out there in a lot of leagues. And if he's there, I mean, would you rather have him on your bench or have someone use him and he puts up those kind of numbers? You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty good PPR numbers.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would rather have him. I think he's definitely worth a waiver ad this week.
We don't need to get into Minnesota's backfield, and I know Matt Asiata did get it done on the goal line again. But is it just me, or did it look like Derrick Henry was getting some more work, especially around the goal line area?
Yeah, I think so. I think that he could vulture some touchdowns from DeMarco, and I think that they were mixing him in a little more. I think they're kind of like seeing what they have in Derrick Henry too. And this is what I thought that this backfield would be this from the get-go. I thought it was going to be kind of a two-headed monster. I mean, obviously DeMarco Murray shouldered the work, but it's nice to see both of them mixing in there.
I mean, he got 12 carries, and that's like, I think that might be his season high.
That could be, except for I think that Jacksonville game, I think he had more, but I think you could be right.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely nice to see. He's 46% owned. We're not considering Christine Michael, although he did have 10 carries. It looked like Green Bay was leaning on him to ice the game out, but it was a revenge game. Gillisley didn't look like he was getting a whole lot of work. Chris Rogers completely phased out with Charles Sims returning. How do you feel about Forsett after his first game? I mean, his very first carry, he fumbled.
Yeah, that's not good, but it was promising the fact that it shows that the Broncos have no faith in Devontae Booker because, he got out-touched by, Justin Forsett in his first game signing with the team. I think he didn't even have a full practice week, and he already out-touched Devontae Booker. So I think that going forward, Denver's going to try to feed him the ball. But honestly, neither one of them is worth anything more than desperate flex consideration.
And speaking of Charles Sims, he looked like he picked up right where he left off before he got hurt. He only had 7 touches, but you got to figure this is his first game coming back. He still had more touches than Chris Rogers. I think that he might be worth the ad at the very least.
Yeah,
I mean, if he can get it going, he might be a decent flex play these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too. Yeah, if you're in a like a 12 or 14 team league where he's still widely available. Yeah, or
19% owned.
in any league, honestly, yeah, I think that he's definitely worth an ad and maybe flex consideration.
I know you're a little bit bigger on this guy than I am. Paul Perkins, he's 14% owned. He had 15 carries for 45 yards. It looked like he pretty much split the work straight down the middle with Rashad Jennings. Still didn't really have a whole lot of passing down work, even when Vereen went down. I believe he got a concussion. So, that's a little disheartening, but 15 carries, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is, and you know what? I'm really high on this kid, and I love his future, but I think it's a little too late this year for him to help your fantasy team. So, with 2 games left in your season, I just don't think that a guy like Paul Perkins is going to help the team. I would leave him on the waiver wire.
It looks like if Melvin Gordon is to not go, that San Diego might opt to do a 50-50 split between Farrow and Ronnie Hillman getting the passing down work, because it looked like Farrow kind of struggled in pass protection, but he got a lot of the inside work. He had 16 carries for 55 yards. He caught 6 passes for 23 yards, 78 total yards. I mean, that might not be a bad ad if you're like a Melvin Gordon owner.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is though to consider is I really don't think that Hillman's going to be that great of a factor. I think that Kenneth Farrow is going to be an excellent ad this week. If you're still in the fantasy playoff football championship hunt, whatever. I'm jumbling my words right now, but I think he's going to be an excellent ad. He's got 2 favorable matchups coming up. He's got Oakland and I believe the Browns. He's got Oakland and the Browns the next 2 weeks. So these are 2 matchups where he could really be the bell cow and get the same amount of carries that Melvin Gordon's been getting. I don't think to the same extent. Hillman will mix in there a little bit, but I think that Hillman's going to have more of a Danny Woodhead type role, and I think Farrow's going to be that inside the tackles type of runner. So I do think that he's worth a priority ad this week.
Is there any other running backs that you can think of?
No, I think that's it.
Oh, the only one I have is maybe if you're in like a deeper league, like a 16-team league or something like that, you could pick up Rex Burkhead. He had 10 touches for 51 yards, but that's only a flex option in like the deepest of leagues. Nothing else to say on that. Let's go over to wide receiver.
Let's do it.
People, why is Alan Hearns still 49% owned in Yahoo leagues?
Yeah, that needs to change.
You can't really consider John Brown even with Michael Floyd's arrest, so we're gonna skip over that. You know what's surprising to me? Malcolm Mitchell's still only 54% owned in Yahoo leagues.
Yeah, that needs to change too. I don't know why that's not higher.
Taylor Gabriel is 48% owned, so if he's still available in your league, that's a nice little wide receiver 3 for you, especially with the unknown health issues with Julio Jones. Definitely got to pick him up.
Yeah, he needs to be owned in all leagues. He is.
He had like 80 yards and a touchdown this past week.
Yeah, he was impressive.
A guy that I don't think is worth the ad that's out there, 44% owned, Corey Coleman. He hasn't topped 50 yards since he came back. People, you can let go of the hope and just drop him.
Yeah. A guy I want to talk about, though, Dontrell Inman. He's a guy that could potentially see more work. He's been getting it done the last 3 weeks. 3 games, 14 catches, 239 yards, and a TD in most of those games. So
this past week he had 6 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. He's only 23% owned.
Yeah, and he's a guy I like to call, he's just a guy. Well, he's just a guy, but, in this offense...
He's just a guy with a good opportunity.
Yeah, he has plenty of opportunities, so I would go ahead and do it. I mean, I know Philip Rivers has been pretty erratic with the ball, but I think you could trust him as a wide receiver 3.
That's a good one. Another one, Pierre Garçon. He's 37% owned in Yahoo leagues. He had 59 yards and a touchdown off 5 catches. He's a guy that's getting open for Kirk Cousins, the kissing cousin. I think that's a pretty good ad. I think he's another wide receiver 3 that you could have at least on your bench at the very least.
Yeah, at the very least, and it's like you're always saying, Johnny. It's better you own him than your opponent owning him. So if you have a free spot, I think that he might be worth an ad.
Hey, your boy Cameron Meredith finally came through.
I know, right? It only took him 3 or 4 fucking weeks.
I feel like him and the other guy I want to mention, Bolden. I think they're both touchdown dependent. So, I mean, it's pretty hard to trust in your fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, there are so many better starts than these guys. I would trust a boom or bust player over Cameron Meredith. I think I don't know. I would have to be really desperate to start Cameron Meredith. But keep that in mind, though. He did get his nut. But this is a tanking Chicago team, so you guys somehow question how much drive they have to win games going forward.
But you also got to think, Alshon Jeffrey will be coming back too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's another factor that's just going to really factor into starting Cameron Meredith. You have to be really desperate.
I know you kind of wrote him off last week. Adam Thielen, he had a 100-yard game. Yeah. He had 4 catches for 101 yards.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he has now emerged as that number 2. But like I said, he didn't have much competition with Cordarrelle Patterson. So, he looks good.
He has a good matchup too.
Yeah.
So I mean that might be a bad ad, especially if you're near like a 2 or 3 flex league. Like you could definitely play him as like a wide receiver 4.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that.
How do you feel about Hogan?
He's just not getting enough volume, but when he catches, he's a potential like big game haver every week. I think any Tom Brady offense.
He hit the home run this week.
Yeah, no, he definitely hit the home run this week. But the thing is, now with the emergence of Malcolm Mitchell, he's got Edelman, he's got Mitchell. And then him, so he really doesn't get mixed in a whole lot, but he does now a little bit more now that Gronk's out for the season.
Yeah, I mean, I have to refer to a show that we had in the past. I was saying, New England, they just spread the ball out too much to really like trust a guy like that.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what they're doing now. They just spread it around too much. Like you look at the targets and where they go. You got to think that he's still 3rd or 4th.
You might call me a little bit crazy for this one. This is the last guy I want to mention. It's a really deep option. He's only 2% owned in Yahoo leagues. Robbie Anderson. He seems to be the go-to receiver for the New York Jets right now with Bryce Petty at the helm. He has 23 targets in the past 2 weeks. Last week he had 4 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. This week he had 6 catches for 99 yards. And, he even had 3 catches for 69 yards in week 10 when Bryce Petty was the quarterback. Like, he's the go-to guy for Bryce Petty.
Yeah, no, and that's not surprising at all because they were throwing to each other on the practice squad. And now they're both playing on the actual offense. So it's not surprising at all. They have a rapport, obviously. I do think that, if you're in a deeper league, he's definitely worth an ad, especially like a dynasty league. I think that he's a good ad, to help you through the fantasy playoffs. So definitely keep him in mind.
There really isn't a whole lot of tight ends to speak of for me. I will say that if you still own Julius Thomas, he's 40% owned. Dude, he is on IR, guys. Drop him.
Yeah, I think that was the crowning achievement when I actually saw in one league that some idiot didn't check his fucking lineup and he was started on IR. I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that guy's a real winner.
Yeah, just do not, please, people, pay attention, set your lineups. I think
especially this time of the year,
Yeah, because you always have one player in the league that's he's tanking. But man, if you made the playoffs, check, and check again, and I don't know. Rant off. I just come on, people.
Didn't you tell us about a guy that is he's in second place and he's been starting Antoine Bolden all year?
Yeah. There's a guy in second place in one of my leagues, and now I get it. He most weeks where the Lions do good, he scores a touchdown, but he's been starting Anquan Bolden like all year, and he has like the luckiest team and it pisses me off when I see those lucky teams when they have a garbage roster, but yet they still stay afloat because they have some stupid idiots. And the same guy thinks that you can start Brock Osweiler or at least have him on your bench. He shouldn't be even owned, let alone started 1 week.
I feel like you can drop Gary Barnage with RG3 at the helm. He only had 3 catches.
I feel like that's the thing too.
Yeah, 44% owned. You could probably drop him. CJ Fedora, he's going to have a nice matchup this next week. He's only 38% owned, but he did suffer a concussion. He has to go through the concussion protocol, so I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah, you know who that hurts more than C.J. Fedorowicz, right? It hurts Brock Osweiler because C.J. Fedorowicz is the only one that can catch a pass from him.
Well, it might be a speculative ad as Ryan Griffin.
Yeah, that's very true.
You want to know how Dwayne Allen repaid you if you picked him up after getting 3 touchdowns?
Goose egg.
A big goose egg. He got 0 catches.
Love goose egg.
That's amazing.
Another guy that I want to mention that is widely available is Jermaine Grisham. He's caught 5 balls in 3 consecutive games at least. And
Read my mind.
Yeah, and he's I don't have the percentage numbers right here in front of me, but I can tell you that he is more than likely available in your league.
Yeah, Jermaine Gresham is 4% owned in Yahoo leagues, and over the last 4 games, he has either 5 catches or a touchdown. He plays the New Orleans Saints this week, so he actually led the Arizona Cardinals in receptions and receiving yards. So
yeah, and the way that the receivers there are playing, it's not really too surprising to me that his emergence this year. It is surprising though because Arizona never uses the tight end position, and now they're finally using it.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like Jermaine Gresham. He is just the tight end that Bruce Arians hates the least.
That's true. Hates the least.
Because if you look back on it, like on his old teams though, like he used tight ends because they actually had some tight ends. When they got to Arizona, they really ain't had no tight ends to use, so they're like, well, I guess we just won't use it.
Yeah, I guess and Jermaine Gresham, he's always been talented. He just never either hasn't been utilized or he's thrown a temper tantrum on the sidelines, and looks like now he's finally settling in. I mean, I know Arizona's kind of in crisis mode, this season, so but they're trying to salvage their season and show the fans they haven't given up yet. So he definitely has some nice appeal in deeper league.
You have some streaming defenses you wanted to go over.
Yeah, I just want to go over this real quickly for teams that are that have been streaming defenses all year that didn't get a top tier one in the draft, which I don't blame you because I do the exact same thing. So some ones that for Week 15 that stuck out for me is Atlanta Falcons. They're going up against San Francisco. This is a game that could go really. It's probably a game that Atlanta will win pretty handily. San Francisco hasn't looked really competitive the last 2 weeks. A boomer bust game for Colin Kaepernick, so I think that they're a nice play. They've been getting a lot of turnovers lately, especially against the Rams this week, so I think they're worth some consideration. And then you have the Miami Dolphins. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I like the Houston Texans. They play the Jacksonville Jaguars. We all know Bortles is a turnover machine, and that can definitely be something that could happen this week that's coming up. So if you got Houston Texans are available, pick them up.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. I think that'd be a great defense to own this week if they're available. Another one that I really like is you can't go wrong with streaming a defense against the Browns. The Buffalo Bills play the Browns this week, so I don't really need to go into it too much more than that. RG3, he's playing the Bills defense. I think that's a pretty good play.
What I think is also a nice play is the Baltimore defense is one of the best defenses in the league, and they're only 61% owned in Yahoo leagues. And they play Philadelphia. Wentz has been turning the ball over a lot lately. That might not be a bad play.
Yeah,
I mean, besides against before they played New England, they scored double-digit points in 5 out of the past 6 games. So
actually fun stat about Wentz. He has committed 11 turnovers and been sacked 19 times in since week 8.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The team it feels like the Philadelphia Eagles are imploding.
Yeah,
So.
no, and they are. Yeah, they have been competitive. One last one that I want to go into that should be mostly available in your league. New York Giants, after their awesome performance against Dallas this week, they're taking on the Lions. Matthew Stafford isn't 100%. And the Lions really don't play well on the road, so this is going to be a good defense to stream, I think, this week.
And I just want to let everyone know that Sloke's Empire is going to take down the Oakland Panty Raiders if we play each other.
Hey, man, you know what? I will say this. If Le'Veon Bell does what he did last week, I don't think I have a shot in hell. But I think that we're going to have a nice matchup, and I think that our matchup this week is going to be the one that determines the fantasy championship. I really do. So I want you
the
to know.
Best man win. I hope nothing but the worst for you.
Yeah, you know what? I got to quote The Rock here. What's your name? It doesn't matter what your name is. You're going down to the Oakland Panty Raiders.
All right. I think that pretty much wraps up our show. Hopefully, we can propel you into Week 16 for your league championship. It should be your league championship. If it's not, you're in the wrong league. But please join us on your voyage to a league championship. That is what we are here for. Let's win this together. If you enjoyed this show, we can be found on iTunes. You can look us up, Fit Down Fantasy Football. We pop right up. You can give us a rate, review, subscribe that shit. We are on Spreaker. We're on Blog Talk Radio. We're on Podcast Addict. So you can find us at any of the above there. Yeah, please let us know how we're doing. Let us know how your season went. If you're already out of it, that'd be greatly appreciated. We can always take some criticism. You got anything to add, K-Mo?
Yeah, I do actually. You know, we always say every week win together. Well, there's one guy that's not going to be winning his league this year because Johnny Slokes, you're going fucking down, brother. And I hope that you eat shit and die.
No, that's very rude.
I'm sorry. I love you, man, but I really hope that your team just completely just chokes on a dick this week.
I hope that you get sodomized in your sleep.
Wow, that's just wrong.
Metaphorically.
That's that you. I think you crossed a line there. All right, good night, Fit Downer. We love you.
All right, peace out, Fit Downers.